My lords, today I bring details of 6 noteworthy events that have occurred around the Empire of late. Some are disturbing indeed, and we have catalogued these as strange world occurrences. I'll begin with our findings on the planet Hemera in the Beta Tauri sector. The surface of Hemera is exhibiting an unprecedented reaction to our construction efforts. An unidentified viscous substance is beginning to ooze out of the foundations of key installations of the colony here. The ooze is some kind of crimson liquid, gelatinous in appearance but extremely adhesive to the touch. My science team and I are eager to study the discharge further. Currently, it is simply an inconvenience, but it would be prudent to investigate and ensure the safety of our colony here. Investigation has been ongoing for several days, and I'm now receiving reports of troubling development regarding this strange crimson ooze. The substance is becoming unmanageable, emerging at a greater rate through the afflicted areas. It should be noted, the ooze is not without its benefits. As it coagulates, its adhesive properties become more pronounced, effectively forming a natural cement that can be used to supplement our own construction efforts. Worryingly though, the substance proves nearly impossible to remove from any person who comes into contact with it. Several of the colonists have become affected by it, and attempting to study and treat them would allow us to gather more information, but would slow construction progress. We've already had a number of fatalities, both from within our science teams and the civilian population, who it appears cannot keep their curiosities at bay. Colony development continues, but we will attempt to introduce better safety precautions. The substance cannot halt the development of this world, after all. Several weeks have passed since we initially discovered this crimson ooze, and construction of our colony has continued at an exceptional pace, but the emergence of this substance is no longer limited to just the foundations of our installations. We are now seeing hemorrhaging fissures being discovered in multiple locations across the planet. Initially, only non-native objects to the planet were being affected by the substance, but it is now spreading indiscriminately. The material has now consumed a large portion of the surface of the world and is rapidly congealing into a thick mineral coagulate that has now surrounded our entire colony. Through costly trial and error, our engineers have found a way to avoid further damage, as well as begin to efficiently harvest the substance. This was only possible at the expense of ceding significant ground to the ooze. But after intense study and treatment of the afflicted workers, our scientists were able to isolate the root cause of the problem. What initially presented as a viscous, gelatinous substance is in fact a collection of parasitic microorganisms that form a symbiotic relationship with the planet itself. The parasites decompose organic matter beneath the crust of the planet and recycle it into new material. The disturbances caused by the colony's development disrupted this natural life cycle, causing them to react to the foreign substances that we introduced into their ecosystem. Given more time, I suspect that we can find a way to work in harmony with this life form, integrating its unique biology into our production pipelines. This whole situation, though, is rather odd. I wonder if we could call this planet alive. Nevertheless, work continues. Through extensive research, my team and I have now engineered a variant of species of the parasitic microorganism. We have mutated it to design it to recognize our own materials as harmless adaptations to their natural ecology, which will enable us to resume construction with no further issue. After introducing this mutation into the planet's biosphere, the mutated parasite has successfully integrated with the main body. Furthermore, by repurposing the microorganism's original decomposition, we have managed to harness the substance's adhesive properties to boost our planet's production processes. We hope that we could set up harvesting facilities and ship this substance off-world to be used in construction efforts around the Commonwealth. Of course, we may have the issue of transporting a potentially parasitic organism to all of our colonies. We should look into this in more detail. Next, we have news from the Stellaris system, specifically a moon of the 12th planet. What was previously thought to be a long dormant geyser on this moon violently erupted, spewing dark matter-infused gas into the atmosphere. The eruption saturated the skies, leading to severe gravitational anomalies that were blocking off-world travel and communication. We believe that the dark matter somehow originated from the moon's unique core. We deployed orbitable siphons to extract the miasma of dark matter from the planet's stratosphere, as the extreme conditions clearly pose a danger to the citizens below. Though it took several days, the siphons eventually cleared the moon's atmosphere of the dark matter. However, when attempts were made to re-establish contact with the colony, we discovered many of the citizens had been petrified, turned into what appears to be solidified dark matter statues. Conversely, others across the world remain completely unaffected. The geyser responsible for the original incident has since collapsed into a lake of liquid dark matter. Clearly, this is an unprecedented event and requires concentrated study. Research has been intense while we attempt to figure out what happened here, and whether or not we can somehow reverse what happened to the petrified colonists. Although it is understood at this point, they are likely very dead. Despite this, our science teams are confident that the lake of dark matter presents minimal further danger to the planet. The same cannot be said for the emerging symptoms that are starting to affect the population. We are studying the now quarantined colonists who were not initially affected, and we have identified ongoing physical changes resulting from their entombment in the substance. While studying the now quarantined colonists who were not initially affected, we have identified ongoing physical changes resulting from their bathing in dark matter. It appears that the prolonged exposure saturated the molecules in their body with dark matter, which subsequently contaminated their circulatory systems. We can cultivate these anomalies, allowing the bodies of our people to process and secrete harvestable dark matter. Of course, this will significantly shorten their life expectancy. And that is a frankly grim decision that can wait, because further study of the dark matter lake has revealed crucial geological information that may explain the cause of the initial incident. The planet's core is host to a micro black hole less than a meter in length. The greater mass of the planet itself nullifies the expected gravitational forces that we would have detected from such an anomaly. It appears that this relationship between the masses reached a delicate equilibrium that should remain for quite some time. Recent seismic activity led to a displacement in the inner mantle, causing the initial Geyser eruption. The dark matter lake acted as a plug to stabilize the planet's core and prevent further outbursts. However, the long-term saturation of dark matter was clearly not as harmless as it initially appeared. Over the last several days, unstable micro-black holes have formed in the center masses of most of the colonists affected, causing their bodies to violently implode. All that remained was a lifeless husk made of crystallized dark matter. Our final count shows that we have lost approximately 87% of the colony's population in an instant. In their place, statues of solid dark matter now litter the planet. Truly horrific. Now we move on to the event designated Nature Shock. Upon colonization of Cordoros 1, we found an abundant species of herbivorous megafauna, but they had begun to disrupt the energy production of the planet. In dramatic displays of what can only be described as mass suicide, these creatures are frying themselves alive on our power stations and power lines. The animals are extremely driven in purpose, breaking through fences around our energy grids to reach their goal. Our energy generation is suffering as a result of this particular behaviour, and frankly, the population isn't enamored with these creatures throwing themselves to their deaths. The animal lovers among us are of course particularly disturbed. Our ecologists tell us that this species plays a pivotal role in the ecosystem of our planet. At the current rate of these incidents, we estimate that these creatures will drive themselves to extinction within the year, which may lead to further ecosystem collapse. On the other hand, this has led to the unexpected benefit of massively increased food production, with some of the colonists discovering that the flesh of the creature is highly delicious. Conversely, this may lead to a societal issue if we don't deal with it quickly, as many of our colonists are extremely unhappy that some of the others are consuming the flesh of this animal. Ruling one way or another about what to do will hopefully solve the problem. Clearly, however, the energy grid is the biggest concern for the moment, and we need to investigate this further. Several weeks have now passed, and despite trying to contain the creatures, their behaviour continues. But we have gained valuable insights. These megafauna are functionally blind, using echolocation to see and identify one another. We suspect that our energy grids are emitting a frequency that is overwhelming their acute hearing, triggering this aggressive behaviour towards our power stations. In addition to this, we have learned that their unique digestive enzymes can act as a catalyst in alloy refining. Initial tests show potential in improving our overall alloy production on this world, should we find a way to harvest this. Despite these discoveries, we are still a long way off from resuming normal energy production. Our teams of scientists continue to investigate the issue, but if we don't deal with it soon, it will become a media nightmare as well. Already protests are springing up. If you can believe it, some people are suggesting we turn off our entire energy grid to spare these creatures. This is largely being pushed by a minority faction, the Party of Peace. They hold pacifistic and egalitarian views, and are frankly, in this governor's opinion, morons. Nevertheless, our struggle continues. Several more weeks have now passed, and thankfully we have identified the cause of the aggressive suicidal impulses of the creatures. Further observational study of their echolocation and societal behaviours have revealed the shocking truth. Their mating calls share an almost identical frequency to the sounds generated by the energy grids. So, they think the electrical grids are calling out to them for mating action, and clearly they throw themselves somewhat energetically towards that. To solve this problem, several options lay in front of me. I'm told we can recreate the cries of these beasts to divert their migration paths away from the colony, thus stabilizing their population. This will allow us to harvest catalytic enzymes from their droppings to boost alloy production, while also allowing us to continue our study of their unique physiology. On the other hand, we could easily create specialized electrified harvesters to efficiently process these animals without disrupting energy production. So, as governor of the planet, I'm left with a choice: harvest them for their very tasty meat, or harvest their feces. I know which one will keep the protesters off my back. My lords, the governor on Cordus 1 ended up choosing to save the beasts and harvesting their poop. A wise choice given that these droppings were used in alloy refinement and increased the planet's output by 25%. I'm recommending him for commendation. The next event we shall cover is designated as Strange Sands. Our colony in the Dravak system is reporting strange phenomena with the sands that sweep across the world. Severe sandstorms are materializing in close proximity to our colony on otherwise calm days. Rivers of fast-moving sand appear out of nowhere before stopping as suddenly as they begin. There are even reports of sand dunes moving laterally on a perfect windless day. No atmospheric or geological explanations for these events have thus far been identified. These peculiar sands are causing us no direct harm, but they are interfering with our colony's operations. The study of this unique phenomenon is ongoing. Several months have now passed, and the sandstorms on Dravak 8 continue to intensify. Indeed, they have started to emit a deep, droning sound. The frequency regularly shifts in pitch and modulates in reoccurring patterns, and while this singing sound phenomenon can be attributed to known properties of free particles, the regularity of these modulations cannot be explained by friction alone. We have also found a valley filled with dunes etched with strange symbols. These glyphs appear fleetingly in raised formations before dispersing almost instantaneously. What is animating the sand remains unclear, but the consistent nature of the patterns suggests purpose or intent behind its behaviour. We have the answer. It's Zro. Particles of this sand is somehow embedded with Zro. While handling samples, our researchers began to experience brief but powerful visions. They witnessed apparitions of Zeroni figures roaming the planet's glyphed dunes. These apparitions appear to be the source of the glyphs as well. Decoding the symbols is time-consuming, but clearly we believe this is some form of written language. Fortunately, Our translation efforts did not take long, as we have deep insight into the Zeroni culture already. We use this prior knowledge to mark new glyphs upon the sands, specifically the symbol for a Zeroni greeting. The response came to us immediately. The sandstorms dissipated, the valley floor settled, and the dunes' song went silent. Entire sand dunes then lifted into the air, taking on new forms in the process. Figures formed in front of our eyes, from animated sand, swirled in an intricate airborne spectacle. We immediately recognized this as the story of the Zeroni, a vision of their newfound power and terrible conflict. These sands formed a cosmic echo of their tragic fate, including their ascent into the Shroud and ensuing destruction. Afterwards, the psionic sands settled once again. The storms have not returned, and we can only believe that these sands have become more amenable to our presence on this world. Clearly, this was a fascinating encounter, and it makes me wonder, do the Zeroni still live out there, somewhere? Perhaps they live on, as gods, in the Shroud. Nevertheless, we move on, and I have 2 more events to detail for you, my lords. Next we have the event, codenamed Out of Nowhere. As we were preparing to land for future expansion on Illyria 6, a large structure seemingly blinked into existence. The structure was emitting a highly unstable energy wave, causing it to intermittently appear and disappear from view. This explains why it was not present in initial scans of the sector. When visible, unintelligible symbols adorn its sealed exterior, but they match no known language in our records. No apparent function can be discerned. The construct thus far has caused no harm, but it is obstructing our colony's development on the world. We initially pulled up records on the device, or perhaps entity, known as the Beholder, assuming that it may be similar. However, sadly, the symbols adorning both structures appear to be quite different. Indeed, this building's sealed exterior is comprised of unfamiliar but highly reactive materials, and there appears to be no way inside. Thus, we will have to conduct further analysis. Work has been ongoing for several weeks now, and analysis of the shimmering building leads us to assume that the object is bending or distorting light somehow. While our understanding of the building's properties have grown, we are still unable to enter it. We did, however, have a breakthrough. One of the science team correctly identified the wavelengths being emitted by this device to that similar to cloaking technology. This led us to assume the object was somehow producing an intermittent cloaking effect. Despite this new knowledge, we still remain unable to enter it. However, exceptional geothermal activity has been detected in the silicate matter below the building. This potent energy source appears to power the isolated structure, but its levels fluctuate wildly. We gently attempted to force entry, but this only destabilized the building's electromagnetic fields further. We could cut our way in to try and learn more, but there is of course considerable risk of unpredictable energy destabilization. We will have to be careful with this one. A full 2 months has now passed since we discovered this odd building. Further study of the strange markings on the exterior have finally revealed that they are an interface of sorts. We have been able to manipulate them to open a hidden door which led us into the building's deserted interior and revealed a vast control chamber. Although we are ignorant of its deeper workings, we have gained basic understanding over the commands using trial and error. Interrupting its functions have produced an unexpected outcome. The derelict ruins of a long abandoned alien settlement has appeared in a nearby valley. It seems that this object was somehow projecting a cloaking field on this former alien colony. What they were hiding from remains a mystery, but what is certain is that they perished, regardless of their efforts. While nothing of archaeological value remains intact, our science teams have still made excellent use of this control chamber. We have now been able to stabilize and expand the building's strange cloaking effect to cover the entire valley. It will be a great enhancement to our colony's safety, and this find has also increased our understanding of cloaking technologies. A marvelous find indeed. The final event we shall discuss today is codenamed Sudden Disappearance. Records from a colony commander on the planet Vidaxis read: communications were lost today with one of our expedition units shortly after they reported a potential exotic gas discovery in a previously unmapped valley several hundred kilometers from the colony site. Worryingly, their final transmission cut off abruptly with what sounded like anguished cries. I fear the worst. Several teams have been dispatched to their last known location. What we will find remains to be seen. While investigating the last known location of the missing team, we discovered a landscape of highly acidic bogs exuding a mist of pure exotic gas. These swamps are home to a species of resilient native flora that was capable of surviving this extreme acidity. While the landscape was highly hazardous, conducting further research into the mist could prove beneficial for colony resources. Researchers are setting up sites to learn more about the bogs, but we do not have much hope that we will find this missing expedition team. Several days have passed since my previous entry. While studying the acidic swamps, one of our scientists and their observation equipment were ensnared by the tendrils of native flora before being dragged into a highly caustic pool. They were dissolved nearly instantly. We believe a similar fate befell the missing expedition team. Soon after they were dragged in, the plant's tendrils visibly inflated and traces of exotic gas spiked. It appears that this predatory flora uses the acidic bogs as an external digestive system, dragging prey in via the hunter tendrils to be dissolved and then absorbing the nutrients that come from it. This process releases a small quantity of harvestable exotic gas in the process, and we speculate that the organism's biology could be exploited by feeding it colony waste in order to produce more gas. Alternatively, we could simply neutralize the bogs and reclaim it as nutrient-rich lands for agriculture. We decided to cultivate the organism while marking the territory as a strict no-go for further expedition forces. We shall use these bogs to farm exotic gases, and predictions suggest this planet may become the largest producer of exotic gas across the entire Commonwealth. A wonderful find indeed, despite the regrettable loss of life to find it.